What's going on, guys? Arden, we're back with another video. Today we're going to do something very, very different. I've kind of had this idea in my head, but I haven't had anybody to do it with. But this is going to be our new podcast talking about like the Call of Duty League. Quite haven't came up with an idea, a name for it, but kind of have an idea. But I've got No Quarter with me. What's up?
What's going on, bruh?
Oh, nothing, just chilling.
I feel you. I'm ready to talk about some COD.
Yeah. So I know there's tons of these out there that I know Nameless does one called the Codcast, and there's one that I think Puckett does it. It's a Codtacular podcast, and I think TP does another one. So there's tons of these out there, and I've wanted to do one to kind of get, because they all work within the league. So, and obviously we don't. So I wanted to do this for a while, and today might be a kind of a longer one because there's obviously been previous events and we haven't got to talk about all those, obviously. So we're going to kind of throw it all the way back to where the league started, and then we will go through each event and kind of give our thoughts, and then we'll talk about Los Angeles and what our opinion is on who we think will win, outcomes of some of these matches and so on and so forth. So starting with like the structure of the event, do you think there needs to be more teams, or do you think that, how many is there, 12?
Well, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 playing
teams
in any one event, which is ridiculous.
That was my, I actually wrote that down as like one of my things. I think it's super weird that not all the teams play in these events, because if you look, like if you go to see the CDL's website right now and you click on standings, the standings are completely thrown off because it has Chicago's number one, which in my opinion, I don't think they're number one. I think Atlanta's number one. But they're number one because they have won more matches because they have played more matches.
Oh yeah, it's the whole system is just an absolute travesty, in my opinion. I mean, you cannot have a league where you only have so many teams. This isn't the NFL Call of Duty. This isn't the NFL here. This isn't 32 teams where occasionally some of these guys need a day off and they get a bye week. It's not the way this works. There's only like so many teams. There are no buys. What are you going to accomplish from a bye?
Exactly.
It's just like you miss Atlanta FaZe at an event, people don't show up. You miss so you miss the Huntsman, people just don't show up. That's all you're accomplishing. What can you possibly get from, especially the event coming up right now? We're not going to have the Huntsman. Yep. Who gives a crap about who wins this one, because it's like the Huntsmen weren't there.
Exactly, and of course you're gonna have, like, especially the Huntsmen, because they're gonna have tons of fans, and like, I'm kind of curious to see how this weekend goes, to see if the viewership is kind of down a little bit, just because like the Huntsmen aren't playing.
And you want to know what the worst part about this weekend is, which I don't even know if Call of Duty even realized that they did this. But I mean, you know who the home team, or quote unquote teams, if you want to call it that, you know who the home teams are. It's the Gorillas and Optic. It's Optic Gaming.
Yep.
And who did you not invite? Scumpy and Formal.
Exactly.
You don't even have the people that literally helped build Optic Gaming at the home Optic event to play against Optic Gaming. Like, what a freaking missed opportunity that was. It's a travesty.
Yeah. But then again, you would have the other side where people would be like, oh, they're making Chicago play Optic just for views and blah, blah, blah.
Fuck yes, they are.
Exactly. I would
watching for. If you freaking look at just the viewership ratings, who are the ones that bring in the most? It's FaZe, and it's the Huntsman. Why is that? Because FaZe is freaking dominant, and because Scumpy and Formal are teaming up for the Huntsman. You can actually throw Dallas in there, because why? It's Crim 6 is over there.
Yep.
I mean, God help it. Like, I don't even know what Optic Gaming is doing. We'll get into that a little bit later, but still got like TJ, Hallie, and Dashy are still on that team, and they suck. But still, yeah. I mean, we all know where the money was coming from in Optic Gaming, and it definitely wasn't those two dudes. Otherwise, they'd be actually having a fan base right now.
Yeah, and I don't know what their thought process behind that was. It also, like, it seems like the games go by super quick because there's not that many teams that are playing.
Yes, but they can't do a whole weekend. I mean, it's like if we want to look back at the golden age of Call of Duty, if you want to call it, because I'm not exactly sold on this format.
Same.
It like matches started on Thursday for a championship on Sunday.
Yep.
I mean, and you're talking about teams that were coming in through open brackets, fighting their ways. I think that would have started for them on like Wednesday or Tuesday or something like that. So they're just eliminating all of that. If you're not pro, you don't get in.
Right.
And then like they try to lessen the teams, and I guess it's. I mean, it's essentially, what do they do in the past? They only. It's almost like they're not going to double head the games anymore. The golden age, the Twitch age of covering Call of Duty, right? And you've got the alpha, the beta, Charlie, Delta. Delta didn't even have freaking commentary, dude, but you could at least see your team play if they weren't important enough to be on the main stage. But now it's like you got to wait. So what do you do from that? Well, I mean, fans of Minnesota and Seattle, game one of, it's like, or actually it's going to be Atlanta and Mutineers, I think, game one. But you see my point. It's just like game one's going to come up. All right, those fans will show up early.
Yep.
It's like Optic doesn't play till like 3:00 in the afternoon, so I'm gonna go make myself some lunch.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna go do something else. Until that point, you're losing all the viewers, man.
Yep. And that's like pretty. We can get into this later. That's pretty evident in the like events from where the venues look like. So we'll just go into talking about Minnesota first. My first thing was the venue, like, it looked like it was empty. I don't know if that's just because of the camera angle of what they were showing or what, because I know a lot of people talked about it. Like, I know Maven in one podcast talked about it, how their camera angles made it look like the venue was absolutely empty, because they said something about they charged like a pretty substantial amount for these VIP seats, but the VIP seats were kind of empty because they just wanted to see their team play. Therefore, they were empty the majority of the time.
Yeah. But, the way I think about it, to be honest with you, is like the opening event of the new Call of Duty season with cities essentially owning teams. You know what I mean by that? It's they're classified by city, almost like a professional sports team.
Right.
But the way that I saw it going into week one, or the first weekend, was this is the exact same as the XFL. It's like the exact same thing. Like, people are interested. They want to see it. They want it. Like, Minnesota is going to come out and root for Minnesota for their home teams and stuff. And people actually drew interest in different aspects of what's new, how is this going to look, everything of that nature. But then, like, after week one, it's just not there anymore. Like, especially in Atlanta, it was terrible. Like, I remember I tweeted about it. I'm like, what the hell? It's like the second match of the day, and there's just like 4 people in the front row. So this is terrific. Let's just not show the crowd here. Or we'll just hold every event in London because those fans are amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it looked very, very weird. I don't know if that's just like from their setup or whatever, but I just thought it looked kind of bad, because I know, like, when, especially during Minnesota, there's a lot of people that was like in the YouTube chat saying like
how empty it was.
There's like 6 people in the crowd.
Yeah, but it did the same as Atlanta, though. They showed up on I showed up at 2:00 on Sunday for the teams that are going actually pushing in late into the mini tournament, if you will. So, like, I mean, they showed, but nobody cared. Nobody shows up at like the first match, especially if it's not like, for example, Minnesota. If it's not Minnesota, if that's not the first team up, the fans aren't going to show up for the first match of the day. It's like you want to like headline the team that is in the home stadium, right? That's like the Monday Night Football event.
Yeah.
Like FaZe will play last. Them. Yeah, Rocker will play last. Like London will play last. It makes sense, but at the same time, it's like when you're basing it on a city, right? When all of a sudden it's not about which team you cheer for. It's about which city you cheer for. And it's just like everybody in Minnesota is expected to cheer for Minnesota. So if Minnesota doesn't play till later, then the freaking residents of that area aren't going to show up until their team plays. What do you expect to happen here?
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing, well, they've obviously fixed most of this stuff from Minnesota, but one thing I absolutely could not stand was they were taking forever to get into the matches. Like they would,
that too.
Like, you know how last year it was like, okay, the desk will talk for a little bit, and then when they went to Merc and Maven or Ben and Chance, it was like, all right, the match is about to start. Well, in Minnesota, they would like the desk would talk, then they would send it to Merc and Maven, to the casters, and then they would talk a little bit, then they'd send it back to the desk, and where everybody was like, what the heck is happening? And I remember like looking in the YouTube chat, and everybody was putting Z's in the chat because they were talking about falling asleep.
And it's not only that, but they take freaking breaks during the matches themselves. So is it like after game 2, you see like a couple of players get a water and just walk off stage? It's like, where are you going? Did you not pee before you came up here? Where are you going?
Yeah, and then it would take so long to get back into the matches after their break, and I just felt like it took so long because didn't they have to cancel like some kind of event? Like wasn't I think it was the challengers, like the amateur bracket or whatever. The finals was supposed to be on main stage, but they had to cancel it because it was taking forever.
Yeah, like we need anything like that. I think they did that in Atlanta too, right? Like they had FaZe people go up there and do like a 2v2 tournament or something like that. It's like,
it was with like scissors and all them. Yeah, because I remember. Well, we'll get into that when we get to the lineup, but it took way too long, and they've kind of fixed that now. Because I think they've taken a lot of feedback from Minnesota and was like, okay, we need to change something. Exactly like when they did in Minnesota, especially in the first match, when they would do that stupid third-person view of somebody running, like,
oh my God,
like on the map. Oh, it was driving me insane.
The stationary cameras.
Yes.
Like in random freaking corners where you saw like the left side of someone's butt cheek and that was it. I'm like, perfect, great spot.
Yeah, I was like, oh, lovely. I can see everything I wanted to see right there. It was getting on my nerves.
Oh, my God. And then if you're going to go into, like, that kind of thing, oh, my God, the travesty that it was. Can we just get a round of applause real quick as to how smart Treyarch is? Like, just how incredibly intelligent they are. Their casting system came with every player's name at the top, their KD, like what kind of streak they're on, where they are on the map, because it's bright, pretty freaking colors that you can see where they are. And then this game comes out, it's like, I'm pretty sure one of those teams is green and the other one is a dark goldish green on a gray map. I have no freaking idea. When they're over top of each other, they just make a funny little new bush-looking icon there. It's like I can't see where anybody is, and I have no idea how good anybody's doing.
Yeah, I hated that with a passion, especially like I think they've kind of changed it to where they'll like pop up stats every now and then, but like I know most of the time I want to see it like at all times.
Oh yeah, like they have to like like there's two different things that they show, right? And it's almost like no one told them ahead of Minnesota. Like, by the way, guys, these options are available to you to use, but you have to press up on the D-pad to get them. And it's just like, it's like one of them did it by accident. It's just, oh, look, there's like all of the players and their stat lines. But when we do that, we lose, like, what are they close to their dead silence? Do they have trophies? Do they have, it's like who's dead and who's not, essentially, except for the skulls that come up. I know they're real proud of the fact that when you shoot somebody, their picture kind of darkens and stuff. That must have taken a fortune for them to figure that out. But it's just, I feel like the things that they would have they concentrated way too much on. Things like that crap. Like, why is that guy's picture black? Wait, it just popped up green. Oh, he must have been dead. But that guy's a lesser shade of gray. Is he? He's injured. It took me like an entire 2 games to figure out that brighter and darker pictures mean someone's injured or alive or dead.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this?
Yeah, the whole Codcaster thing it doesn't look good at all. Especially on like the view of the whole mini map, like down in the bottom left corner. Like,
yeah, there's not enough map. There's not enough map.
I remember like one of the first matches, I think it was at Minnesota, it was Chicago and Dallas's arrows were like black. And Chicago's was like a gold color, and it was like impossible to see on this gray map.
Have no freaking clue. Yeah, and the only reason that I figured out any of this stuff, that it was actually even available, is because sometimes if you press like one of the D-pad buttons, I believe it's up, like the mini map will just pop up.
Yeah,
it'll pop up, and then you can kind of see the arrows as long as they're like in some sort of lighter, happier shade of whatever dark color everybody seems to be using in the CWL. I mean, the gorillas are just like a dark purple black. Roker is like even darker purple. They tend to use just like the darkest shade of green imaginable, and gold Empire just blends in with the blandness of every map in this game.
Everything.
It's like there's no way. Can we brighten this shit up a little bit, please? Exactly. That would be terrific.
Yeah, that was just the whole. It's not very good for the viewers at all. But I
figured it out a little bit though when it got to the second event. But yeah, that first event was just like hard to watch.
Yeah, and you can even watch like the previous podcast when like Merc and Maven and all them talked about it. They were even kind of pissed off about it because they said that like, I know at one point Maven was like, I told them this was not going to work, and they did it anyway, and here we are, and everybody's mad about it. And it was just hilarious because he's like, I told them, and they didn't listen. So
don't worry, man. Soon enough, they're all just going to go to the way of Sledgehammer. We're all just going to have Activision games every year.
Yeah. But talking about the event, was there any surprises in Minnesota that you thought was very like, okay, wow?
Yeah, the Huntsman didn't play until the second day.
Yeah.
That bothered the hell out of me. I'm like, what? Was the first one even a tournament? I don't even think it was.
No, it wasn't.
Like, yeah, it's like they figured that out later too. It was like it was set up almost like it was last year's CDL, like last year's league. Like, it's like, okay, these are your matchups, and you're gonna get points, but eventually you're gonna play everybody and all that kind of stuff. Like they set it up that way. And then by the time we got to London, it was just like, people want tournaments, so we're going to like redo everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess it was kind of cool just for the launch weekend. It was the very first event, It was just like, you play 2 matches and then you're done. Like, there's no tournament or anything. I felt like it was kind of pointless. Like, of course, yeah, you're playing for your points, your 10 points, but like, people want a championship. Like, that's what you obviously play for.
People want a winner. People want to cheer for a winner. I mean, it's exactly. It's like they found out real quick that their viewership goes down when it's not in a tournament format. So when they did Minnesota, they found out that it's like, It's interesting to see that we've got 3 times as much viewership when the Huntsmen play than when anybody else played on that day. And it's just like, maybe we should just make this a tournament, and when they get into the second day, we'll just continue that positive outlook there, and we'll make more money. Go YouTube.
Yep. And it's like they're like, seems like when we have a championship, that's when we have the most viewers. When we're in the finals at a game 5, round 11, we have 200,000 viewers.
That's funny. It's like people want to know who the best is. That's weird.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to wait 3 months until the game's almost dead to get the, the COD championship for our first tournament of the year.
Yep. But I think my biggest surprise was like Paris, because obviously it's the first event, and people started making their stupid little power rankings on who they thought the best and the worst was, and everybody put
beautiful.
Yeah, everybody put Paris at the very bottom.
And they came out.
Yeah, nobody's played yet, and they put Paris at the bottom, and they come out and they beat Optic, and they beat London, and they 3-0'd London.
Oh yeah, they beat the hell out of them.
Yeah, like it wasn't even close, and I was like, okay, Paris has like some motivation behind them with these power rankings of everybody putting them at the bottom.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the same time, too, like, if you're asking about power rankings and why they might have been so low, it's because there's not a server in the middle of the freaking Atlantic. I mean, how are they supposed to prove themselves in an online matchup from across the world?
Yep.
So nobody wants to play against... Nobody's scrimming against Paris. Nobody's scrimming against the Royal Ravens out there. These dudes are on the other side of the world.
Yeah,
not jumping off their servers.
Yeah, except for like European amateurs are screaming them, but I mean, who cares about that?
Yeah, I don't. That's like, pros want to scrim pros. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't. It's impossible to scrimmage against those teams. They're on the other side of the freaking world. There's no easy way to online scrim. It's just like you got to travel to practice, and nobody's doing that. So the only people they can really play against are themselves over there. So it's, you got Paris, you got London. It was just like, all right, well, I guess we're just going to play each other like all the time. Those matchups would probably be the best in the whole freaking series, is because they've played each other so much they know what each other does.
Yeah. But it was surprising that Paris came out and just absolutely waxed London.
Oh, it's because they were well rested.
Yeah.
It's because they had a bye week, Good thing we have those bye weeks, man.
Oh, yeah. But I think another surprise for me was Seattle, because if you look at their squad, like, they're full of champions like Karma, Apathy, and they have Octane. Who else? They have Redhead. What's his name? Enable.
I do like Enable, but they were like the B and C players of every championship team.
You're right.
Though, I mean, Octane had his shot on Optic when they were gods. And obviously we don't talk about the Optic of World War II. That's just blacked out in our minds.
Yeah,
but,
out of everybody's mind.
Yeah, but I mean, they got him in there, and it didn't work. And then you've got Karma in there. And I mean, what have we always said about Karma? Essentially, he's just like a little bit better than Shot. It's like he's the OBJ guy. It's like nobody gives any respect to the OBJ guy, but the guy's got 3 rings, so he's got a lot of good friends.
Yep.
But so no disrespect to Karma at all. That dude kicked my ass. But like, let's just get real on that. But it seems like they've got good players. I mean, Octane for sure. I'm just looking at his stat right now. It's like he has the most hill time on average of any player in the CWO.
And he's an AR player.
And he's an AR player. But I mean, usually sometimes you get the AR players in there to pick people off at long ranges. But I understand why. Like, my instinct would be to play sub in there. But that's beside the point. The man's got the most hill time. But then it's just like you don't find another Seattle player in the top 10, like anywhere. So is it like it's almost like they're just playing to just like, all right, Octane, you do you, man. We'll be out here. Whereas like every other team, you see like 2 Atlanta players in the top 10 in hill time. Just because they just stack it.
Yeah.
They rotate early and they stack.
Yeah, I thought Seattle was one of the biggest surprises because I think everybody expected them to be really, really good just because they have all of the like veteran players, and they came out and they weren't very good.
No, I don't think Seattle's the worst team though, but I do consider them to be sort of like, I don't know, just below average. You know, it's not like, I wouldn't say they're at the top level, I'd say, but I'm not going to put them all the way at the bottom. They're like in that nice little almost to middle range.
Yeah,
in my book.
A little past middle, but not all the way at the bottom.
They'll get some maps. They get maps.
Which, coming up, they play Minnesota first, like, second match of the day on this Saturday. So
now, if there's any team that I think is completely underrated, it's Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think Minnesota is like the epitome of bad luck. I can't even, like, you know, they lost both matches in Atlanta.
Yep.
It's how, and they were like, weren't they? I think they took FaZe all the way to Game 5.
Yep.
It's just like, and then you come out and you lay an egg in your losers bracket after taking the champion. It's like the closest anybody ever got to beating FaZe was Minnesota.
Yeah, they actually got reverse swept by FaZe.
Yeah, it's like they had them on the ropes, and then FaZe is just like, I don't know, took a shot of G Fuel and came out and said, "No, this is our home court here, guys. You guys didn't get the memo."
Yeah, but I think they're definitely the most underrated because I think they're really, really good.
Oh, they're nasty, dude. It's just like one of these times they're just going to come out and they're just going to be in the finals. And I feel like when they get to the finals, when it does happen, because I feel like it will, but when it does happen, people aren't going to be baffled as to why they're there. They're going to wonder why they weren't there already.
Right.
Why they didn't get a shot before. So if we're talking about like teams that could get there, as a Mutineers fan, I wanted the Mutineers to beat the Huntsmen. I didn't exactly anticipate they would actually pull that off. I would expect Minnesota to make that a good game.
Yeah.
Like, I expect like Minnesota, like I'd be like, if Minnesota beat the Huntsmen, I'd be like, nah, that's just a good team.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they've got two dudes, two of the top 5 guys out of the tournament in Atlanta. They got GodRx and Assault.
Yeah, GodRx is disgusting.
He's freaking nasty.
He's incredible.
It's got I think he had like a 1.44 KD in S&D.
Yeah. he was probably like right behind Simp because I think it was either Minnesota or London. Simp had like a 3-something KD in S&D.
At one point, yeah, I think he finished the weekend at like 1.23.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at the stats right, so
unreal.
But anyway, yeah, that's like Assault, also ridiculous from Minnesota, main AR player, and then like GodRx just flexes between the two.
Yep. Yeah, GodRx is definitely one of the top players this year, which I thought he was last year too, but he didn't kind of show out until like the end of the year.
Which team was GodRx on last year? He was on
he was on a like underrated.
Yeah. Trying to remember.
I cannot think of what team he was on.
Anyway, he's not on it anymore.
Yeah, yeah, it's not there anymore. But I didn't watch much of the London tournament because I believe I had to work like that whole weekend, so I didn't watch much of it. Honestly, I don't even remember. Chicago won that?
Yeah, right? Chicago won that with ease. But that was without FaZe. FaZe was not there.
Right. And see, that's another thing, like, with the whole not all teams are there, like, it's not necessarily the best team won. I mean, Chicago, no discredit to them. They're really good, but...
Yeah, but Dallas was there.
Right.
So I mean, you did get what was supposed to be the matchup of the league essentially at the time. Like we knew FaZe was good, and FaZe was building that brand, that reputation of being absolutely dominant. But you're going into Minnesota, right? And Minnesota didn't do the brackets. They didn't make it a tournament. So, FaZe gets their shot and they're like, yeah, we're just going to steamroll anybody that comes in here. But the main story was, all right, it's Crim6 and Clayster against Scump and Formal. Yeah. That's the matchup. And then you actually got that matchup in London.
Finals.
Yeah. So you got it was in Paris or London?
London.
Was in London. So you actually get that in London. And Scumpy just poops all over Dallas. And you get the Huntsmen. All of a sudden the Huntsmen are the big and bad boys and stuff. And it's like, all right, there's your team to beat. And then FaZe is just sitting at home just like, that sucked. They're like, God, we would have beat every single one of you guys. And then they got their chance in the next week. It's like, I don't think Dallas would have stepped in and done anything. The problem was you were missing FaZe in that week too, and that set everybody off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another problem with the whole, not all teams are there. Because then, like, if I was Atlanta, I would be like, okay, we're the best team. If we were in London, we would have beat all y'all. Like, I don't know. It just comes down to bragging rights, I guess.
Yeah, literally all this stuff means nothing because, I mean, the Mutineers weren't in London either. So the two teams, quote unquote, on a bye were London, for London was the Mutineers and FaZe. Yep. And then you go to Atlanta, and what's your final?
Guess who's in the finals?
The Mutineers and FaZe, the two teams that were not present. Everybody's just like, oh my god, it's Dallas and the Huntsmen. I knew it. I knew those teams are going to be the best. And then the very next week, it's like Dallas is on a bye. The Huntsmen get reverse swept, and then it's Mutineers and FaZe in the final. It's just like, okay, my entire picture of how this league was going to unfold has now been thrown away. I have no freaking clue, except for the fact that I know FaZe has not basically lost yet. They haven't lost yet. I don't know why I say basically. They have not lost yet.
They haven't lost.
No, they're completely dominant. They won every map essentially. Not against the Rocker. They did lose 2 against the Rocker, but it's like they're just way too dominant. It's just like, all right, what was missing out of that tournament to make me think that FaZe isn't the best team? You gonna seriously sit here and tell me that Paris was the trump card to FaZe? Oh, is it Dallas? Has all of a sudden Crim6 and Clayster figured out a way to play better? I don't think they have. They weren't even that impressive in Minnesota. So
no.
So it's like we've seen it. We've got 3 weeks in. FaZe is the best team on the planet.
Yeah, but see, like what makes me mad is the whole, FaZe, they had their bye week in London, and if you go to like the standings, it says Chicago's like if you were brand new to to watching the Call of Duty League and you're like, okay, who's the best? Let me go to the standings. It would say Chicago, and then you would look at like their record because I think Chicago's 8-1 or something like that. They lost 1 matchup, I think.
Yeah, they lost to the Mutineers.
Yeah, to Florida.
Yeah, which is we'll get to that in a second. Keep going. Yeah, I got a point.
But like, if you were brand new to the league, you'd look and be like, okay, Chicago's the best, and then you go and watch Atlanta, and you're like, there's no way that Chicago could beat Atlanta, and yeah, like I don't like that because Atlanta hasn't lost. They're clearly the best. Like, they should be number 1, but based on the standings, based on the points, because they weren't there at a tournament, they don't get enough points to be number 1.
I guess it's all supposed to equal out in the end, but then again, it makes the point system completely useless. Just absolutely completely. Like, why even have rankings or anything like that when it's like until we get through all the buys, you have no idea where everybody actually sits, because you're not going to do it on map count. It's on points. Right. So it's a completely useless system. Now, stop me when you get to a point. I'm going to make a point about something else that I saw in Atlanta.
Okay.
So how do I explain it this way? So it's a tournament, right? The format went to tournament mode, that kind of stuff. Okay, so day one comes. Mutineers suck. They get blown out by the Ravens. They absolutely demolished. They go to the losers bracket. They win the losers bracket against Optic. They come back. They get the revenge on the Ravens. They go play the Huntsmen. Huntsmen have not lost yet. Huntsmen are 2-0. And they beat the Huntsmen. Why are the Huntsmen now out? They never lost. The Mutineers have lost one. The Huntsmen had not. Shit, why are they not replaying that a second time? Like, but all of a sudden, it doesn't matter. It's just like, oh, well, I guess it's harder to get to the finals because now they had to come back and actually prove that they could. Like, what's the point of a losers bracket if a team that hadn't lost yet is out after one loss for getting so far?
That's true. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, they played one series and they were out. Yeah. I mean, technically, if that was gonna hold true, I mean, we needed to have the Huntsmen play FaZe, and then the loser of that plays like the Mutineers, and then if the Mutineers win, they got to play it again. If you're gonna do a tournament at limit, the Mutineers just went to a losers bracket, and then it's almost like a reset.
Yeah, they had to fight their way all the way through the losers bracket, but yet the Huntsmen don't get a chance right after they lost. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
You're gonna lose. You better lose on the second. If you lose, I just noticed that. I was sitting there waiting. I'm like, okay, well, it looks like we're getting a game two. Mutineers and FaZe. I'm like, wait, what? How? They hadn't lost yet. How are they out?
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be pissed. I'd be like, no. These kids cannot come in and reverse sweep us and you not give us round two.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that. I mean, I guess I didn't notice it because I was there, but that's a good point.
Yeah, it's like it's not really a tournament because I mean I guess the Mutineers essentially got a second chance at getting COD points. Or whatever we're calling them, the point system for the Call of Duty League. Like they got a second chance. They got no points out of the first game, but I think they still ended up getting just as many points as the Huntsmen because they won just as many games.
Yeah,
even though they lost one. So what's the point of a losers bracket unless it's you have to fill out a schedule, or in case one of the good teams bows out early? What's the point of a losers bracket if it's just sort of a reset? Because it's literally nothing hurt for the Huntsmen. They don't lose points for going out in the first round. They just have a second chance at gaining points.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all. I didn't even notice that at first because I'm even on like a website that kind of it shows like the bracket and how it went, like, and it shows everybody's like a record throughout the whole weekend. Mm-hmm. Everybody has 2 losses except for FaZe. Obviously, they won and didn't lose.
Right.
But Chicago only has 1 loss.
Yeah, because they only lost the one time.
Yeah, and you would think like, okay, they only lost 1 time, so surely the finals was FaZe and Chicago, but it was not. Florida was in the finals. That's crazy. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, it's just it's like it's almost not. Well, I guess it really doesn't matter in terms of playing time. It's not like what is the punishment for losing? There is no punishment for losing the first round because you're going to get another shot at it. Just like the Mutineers got another shot at the Ravens. The Ravens won the first round and then lost, so now they got to go back and play Florida again after Florida beat Optic.
Yep.
And then Mutineers win. So now it's just like, okay, that makes sense because you lost, and then in the rematch you lost again. That makes sense to me. But then the Huntsmen win 2 in a row, and they lose to some team in the losers bracket, but they're out on the first try now instead of now it's a one and like all of a sudden it turned into a one and done. They didn't get a replay.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. They should play like, I don't know who they would play. Like Minnesota, maybe?
No, they just played again. I think they just played again.
Yeah,
because
you're right.
The Mutineers earned essentially that was the semifinal. So if you're not going to have some sort of grand final where it should have been FaZe against the Huntsmen, the two teams who had not lost yet.
Right.
But instead they decided to make the semifinal like the final of that bracket side, essentially. So it's just like, okay, the losers bracket will like the person who stacks their way through the losers bracket is going to come back, and they're going to play this team in the final. You know, but then they went to a one and done format, and I'm sure like the Huntsmen over here just like they're like, hey, you know, we hadn't lost yet. Like, you can't like why is it that they've already lost? They come back up. And now they play us. But now we both have even losses, but instead they're going to the final. You're not thinking about that for FaZe because FaZe isn't going to let that happen. But the Huntsmen somehow, with the reverse sweep coming in from the Mutineers, all of a sudden they're out, and now everybody's like, okay, where's round 2?
Yep, that's weird. I don't know about that one, but I do want to talk about my experience in Atlanta.
Go for it.
Obviously, not obviously, most people don't know that, but I didn't go Saturday because I had to work that day, and I wanted to go the whole weekend and actually get a hotel down there and stay the whole weekend and watch all of the matches, but only went down there on Sunday.
Probably a better experience.
Yeah. One bad experience that I had. So there was, okay, picture like a horseshoe, and then the stage is at the front of the horseshoe, like not on the U side, but on the front.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way the like venue was set up. And then in the middle of the horseshoe was the floor seats. So the floor seats were like, I don't know, like $150 or something like that. And I was like, I'm not going to pay that, obviously, for one day. But
I need to be able to smell Scumpy.
Yeah. And then up on the sides of the horseshoe, like on the long parts, those tickets were like $55. That's where I was and what I paid for.
It's not cheap.
And then on the back part, on like the U side, the farthest away, they were like $27.50, I believe, was the price. What made me mad was when I walked in, they scanned mine and my buddy's tickets, and there was nobody like looking at your ticket being like, okay, you're sitting down there. I could have paid for the $27.50 tickets and sat where I sat, because there was nobody checking tickets to see where you were supposed to go. Like I could have got out a lot cheaper and still sat in the exact same place that I did, because nobody.
You know, Call of Duty is like the honor roll and everything. I'm sure everybody sat where they were supposed to.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I was because like I even said that to my friend. I was like, we could have paid a lot less than what we paid. We could have had $30 in our pockets, but we paid for the better seats. We were fairly close to the stage, but nobody was like, you know, checking your ticket to see where you were supposed to sit. But I was just like, okay, this is stupid. The only thing that they were checking was to see if you were supposed to sit on the floor. Like they actually had a guard that was like making sure that you had your little pass or whatever.
I feel like I'd want to sit in the stands. Don't they have a big old? They have a big old screen up there where you can see literally everything.
It's huge. It was massive.
I mean, it's like, why would I want to pay extra to be on the floor? I guess you have a better shot at being on camera.
Yeah, I mean, if you were on the floor, you had a chance to like they did a bunch of things where they did one like a contest. You'd had to blow up a not a volleyball, but like a beach ball. You had to blow up a beach ball, and then you had to get the crowd, like your side of the crowd, to like punch it all the way to the front, and like whoever side won got a scuff controller. Like they did a bunch of things like that. So if you were in the floor seats, you had a chance to like win a scuff, and like they gave away like a Steel Series headset and stuff like that. But I didn't really want to pay that.
No, it's
And,
like for like a 1 in 85 chance at winning a scuff controller.
right, but
I'll
that just
pass.
that kind of upset me just because I was like, I paid extra for my seats, and Billy Bob sitting next to me paid the $27, and he's sitting right here next to me. Like, I mean,
Well, I mean, if you're gonna buy those seats, I half expected to see just some dude sitting in the stands with like, look me up or follow me on Twitch at Arden 10J.
yeah,
It's like you better be freaking advertising for that kind of publicity. If you guys are gonna charge me extra for being on camera, I'm putting my name out there. Damn it.
yeah. But that was one like bad experience that I had there. It wasn't really a bad experience. It was just like, okay, this is kind of annoying because I paid extra, and this dude sitting next to me paid a lot less, and he's sitting next to me. Like,
But dude, like, what kind of yeah, here's a very important question. Did they sell beer at the event?
that's one thing I couldn't figure out because my buddy he went to the concessions and he was going to get a beer, and we walked up and he was like, "Yeah, can I get a Bud Light?" And he had like his ID out and everything. And the lady was like, I don't know what you're talking about. She said something about a wristband. You were supposed to get a wristband or something, and we couldn't
Have
figure
like
out.
a drinking band?
Yeah, like I don't know. And then we were like, oh, where do we get that? And she literally flat out said, I don't know. And I was like, okay, what's the point? Like, can we
Is
get
this
a
a
beer? Can
freaking
we
cruise
not?
ship? You
Like,
can't get alcohol without your band. You didn't pay for that package, sir.
yeah, I was like, okay, that's weird.
It's like,
But
no, dude. I know your mom drove you to this event.
yeah,
We're not
we
giving
ended
you
up
a squad.
we ended up just kind of like ignoring that, and we were like, well, we obviously don't know where to get a wristband, and the people working here don't even know. So, and we never saw anybody else like with an alcoholic beverage in their hand, like anywhere in the venue.
They get way too rowdy, man.
Yeah,
It's way too rowdy.
But another thing that I thought was kind of weird, like I was expecting to go in there, and if say Chicago wasn't playing, they would be like signing stuff like at a table, like they would have a signing session or whatever at a table and stuff. I didn't see hardly any players at all, like throughout the whole thing.
They're celebrities, dude. They can't be bothered.
Yeah, but the only thing they did do with like signings and stuff was they had like FaZe Clan there, so like
Yeah, it's their home place, though.
yeah, Nick Merckx was there. They did like a signing session of pictures and all that stuff. I didn't get in line just because the line was unreal. Like it wrapped around the whole top of the venue, and I was like, I'm not standing in line for that. But
it's funny to think about when you're talking about stuff like that. Like, so if you want to like use the word celebrity like, inclusion, essentially, like, Nick Merckx is there. Nick Merckx is FaZe.
yeah,
You go to when we finally get to Chicago, like midnight. She's for there. I think that Hitch is also a big Huntsman dude. So
yeah, he's on
like
Energy, the like people that own Chicago.
Well, I know he is he's big on that team, so like he might be there. Who's like Florida?
Maniac, like Optic Maniac, him.
Yeah, it's like would that be what that is? So like what I mean if you're going to Los Angeles, if you're going to not all these groups have these huge stream teams where they're affiliated with some sort of team or another. So like, like on the off chance, like if Luminosity, for example, had ever gotten into the Call of Duty scene again or something like that, you've got like LG Minnesota or LG Arkansas. or
Yeah.
something like that. It's, oh, Ninja might show up.
Yeah.
But it's like these other teams are so new. It's like they don't have this like outside of phase. You don't have this grouping of wow. It's like well, there's going to be a signing booth outside for all of the
Yeah.
Florida Mutineer streamers.
Yeah, because at one point they had like all of FaZe Clan that was signing autographs and like taking pictures and stuff. And what was really like, I know Offset, like the rapper Offset,
Mm-hmm.
and there's another Lil Yachty is technically on FaZe Clan or they're invested in FaZe Clan or something. They were uh, they were at the venue like that day.
Interesting.
I never saw them, but they were showing videos of them playing at the little scuff booth. Like they had the scuff booth where you could play the 2v2 thing, like the gunfight, and
Mm-hmm.
there was videos of Lil Yachty and Offset playing from like the day before, and that, and I was like, okay, I wonder, like you won't get that in Florida. Like there's nobody like that, and
No,
I know
makes me wish that 100 Thieves actually bought a team. I might get to meet Drake.
exactly, and I was thinking, I was like, I wonder if there's anybody in here that like bought a ticket to this thing just to see if they could meet Offset or Lil Yachty
Hell no.
or like Nick Merckx and stuff like that.
No way. Nobody's going there to meet Nick Merckx.
Yeah,
No way. If the Call of Duty World League needs Atlanta to produce Nick Merckx signing autographs to get people to show up to your tournament, then you got a problem of
yeah,
an extreme nature.
Yeah, but uh, when I thought it was very like I expected to see players signings and stuff like that, meeting fans and stuff. There was only saw maybe three players. One player I did see like actually like fist bumped him and everything when we first got there. Like I walked in and I was like, okay, our seat's over here. Let's go over there just to see where we're at, and then we'll go walk around, like look at the scuff booth and stuff like that. And as I was walking towards our seat, Simp like passed me with his girlfriend. And I was like, oh, what's up, Simp? And like just fist bumped him. He's like, hey, what's up, dude? And he just like fist bumped me and walked on, which I thought it was kind of cool, like, to see players walk around. But Simp and Abizi, and there was somebody else that was, it wasn't Pristini. It was somebody on Florida. It may have been Mox. Uh, those were like the only three players that I saw like out in the venue, like talking to people. And I was like, that's kind of surprising to me because I feel like, people want to come to these things so they not only they can watch their favorite players and stuff, but also get to meet them and talk to them.
That's
And
true.
I didn't see anybody.
You think it was a miss on FaZe's part not to put their players out there to meet the crowd a little bit more?
Yeah, I think so because because that's why I wanted to go was to really because like I followed the Call of Duty scene for a long time. Like I feel like I know Scump really well. I feel like I know Formal really well and stuff. And the only time I saw them was 100 yards away from me on the stage. You know
Yeah,
what I
well,
mean?
do you also think that it's not their home court? Like they're away. They're
Yeah,
just
I mean,
gonna
yeah,
do their thing, go to their quote unquote locker room,
right.
and like this is like if any team is going to get an autograph session, it's not gonna be
Right. It should have been Atlanta.
yeah, Seattle's not gonna have their own autograph booth
Yeah.
or something like it's if anything you're gonna be like all right come at 11:30 for an hour long autograph session with the FaZe Clan and just sort of like appease the fans of the area.
Yeah.
But you can't do that in any other state.
I think it was a pretty big missed opportunity there with like not getting to meet the players and stuff. Because I was personally disappointed because I wanted to meet some of the guys, but the only guy that I really got to meet was Simp, and I saw
That's an
it
awfully good
easy.
one.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but I did get to see Abizi like in the crowd. But I think both Simp and Abizi, the only reason why they were in the crowd was to see their girlfriends. Like that was the only reason why they were out there.
Well,
But that was
hard
one
life
thing.
of being a Call of Duty pro's girlfriend.
Yeah.
All these horny young men in the crowd are going to try to be like, oh, my his girlfriend over there.
Yeah.
I wish we'd have bought the $150 tickets to go see her.
Oh, yeah.
That's the perk. That's the perk of paying extra, man. You can be sitting next to one of the player's girlfriend.
Heck yeah. But that's one thing that I was kind of hoping was to meet some of the players. But one thing that was super cool was I think it was Florida was playing somebody, and the next matchup was whoever Florida played. It was Chicago, yeah. When they reverse swept Chicago and then played in the finals, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was that match. Florida and Chicago were playing, and I was just sitting there watching the screen, watching what was happening and stuff. And somebody taps me on the shoulder and was like, "Hey man, is there anybody sitting right there next to you?" And it was FaZe Temper was the dude that was wanting to sit next to me. Like, you know, the creator of FaZe, like the dude that started the whole thing.
Yeah, no biggie.
Yeah, and it was one of those like starstruck moments. Like I didn't think I would ever have that, but I like looked up and I was like, oh no, nobody's sitting here at all. It was one of those like, oh my god. And he sat right next to me, and then later on, like FaZe Adapt, FaZe K, FaZe Banks, Scissors, and like all of FaZe Clan was sitting right there in the same row as me, like directly in front of me, everything.
How about that?
And I was so mad because my phone was dead. I wanted to take a picture so bad with one person, but my phone is dead, and like they were all sitting next to me, like in my row, and the row in front of me was all of FaZe Clan. Like they literally smelt like money. It was unreal.
Oh my god, just dripping and all that FaZe Gucci.
Yeah, it was crazy because I figured they would have like their own little VIP section, but like Nick Merckx and everything was sitting in that section, like the same section as me. It was crazy. Like I wish I had a picture of it. I don't know if my buddy's got a picture of it or not because I think his phone died too at one point.
That would have been awesome. You want an autograph session though? It's like, see, if you're on the floor, you wouldn't have got that experience.
True, this is true. But I thought it was super cool. Like, if anybody like is wanting to go to an event, it's definitely worth it. It's really cool to experience because, like, when would I ever get to be that close to like FaZe Temper and stuff like that? Like, I was like 10 feet away from Courage at one point when he was like walking back and forth to like the desk and to the front of the stage. Like,
isn't it funny how Courage is like a celebrity shot now? It's like they bring him in for like one thing. He's like the Bruce Buffer of the finals.
Yeah, he's a superstar now. It's crazy.
It's like everybody misses his calls so much that like they have to pay him a little bit of extra money to fly into an event just to like announce the finals.
Yep. Everybody wanted there. It's definitely worth it. Like if you've never been to an event and if anybody's thinking about doing it, worth it. It was an experience to say the least. It was really cool. And like they kept showing Prestini and Arcity's mom. She was literally sitting like 20 feet in front of me. Like I was right there close in that same section as she was.
That's when you know you're getting old, dude. When your mom is in the stands.
Yeah.
It's like my parents would not give two craps about coming out watching me play Call of Duty.
Yeah. But it was pretty cool. I definitely want to go back. Like I'm even debating on going to like Dallas or Chicago or Florida. I was thinking about Florida. They just announced that it's in Orlando.
Yeah, nice and sunshine.
Yeah.
It's a little warmer down there.